Hello ladies and gents, welcome to another Skybox analytical video with yours truly. And this one is going to, as the other one did, focus on the macro strategy of a professional Counter-Strike. And we're featuring Mirage indeed. We've got Evil Geniuses, who are perhaps statistically the best on this map at the elite level at the moment. And we've got them playing against Na'Vi here. This is from the Epicenter finals in 2019. It's well, it wasn't the grand finals of that event, but it was, I believe, the playoffs. So some high-level Counter-Strike, and EG a great team in terms of covering a default. So the default on this map, or actually before I go into that, I would like to reference the first video I made, which goes into why defaults are so important, why map control is so important. So if you want sort of a bit more explanation for that, check out the first video, and that's, I think, what the first 10 minutes of that video kind of covers. But here, obviously, just as a refresher for anybody else, map control, or rather defaults, are really important because they give you the most map control possible. And with the most map control comes the most information. And as you get more map control, you're also taking away map control from the other team, meaning that you have more information and they have less information, which means that you get to make better decisions on average, which will lead to more consistently the success outcome that we're after, versus the other team who, with the less information that they have to their disposal, the harder it is to make a good decision, which means the more likely they'll make bad decisions, or they'll have worse options, generally speaking, and they'll be in a spot where it'll be harder to have a consistent outcome to success. So that's why map control is important, in the short of it. As short as I can be, obviously. I'm quite a wordy man. So this map is slightly different as to how the default works in comparison with Inferno. There's a few things to note. Now, first of which is that you get, obviously, when we're defaulting, we're going to, in our efforts to take the most map control, there will be some areas of the map which will be more manpower demanding than others, such as middle. Middle is very demanding of manpower. My goodness, if I could only speak English, hey. So typically we're going to need at least 3 players minimum for middle, which leaves, one player on either extremity, as we have 5 on each team. So that means that there is a decision to be made between Palace and between a ramp. Now, this is a decision that you make based on, I would say, one of 3 factors, or well, a combination of 3 factors. You've got the meta game, you've got the matchup itself, and you've got your own team's strategy considerations. So in terms of the metagame, famously Fur, I believe, I want to say in 2016 or 2017, popularized, I think it was 2016 actually, popularized Palace pushes, because I think they noticed that most defaults, the A player on the default was playing a ramp, meaning this was completely open to a percentage that was so high that it made it a very plus EV play to just push this. It was a cakewalk, just push this, get all the free information, maybe get a backstab, maybe push around. There's all sorts you can do with that. So that's one consideration. The second consideration, as I mentioned, is was it the second or the third? I think the third consideration I mentioned was the strategy your team wants to run, and obviously based on whether what kind of play you're running. You might want a player to be closer to a rotation position. You may want the player to be more committed. And if your team is thinking about rotating people from mid or rotating people from B apartments, then you don't want to add rotation time because you need someone in Palace. So you just want to keep the guy Palace. So this is another consideration as well for your strategy. And also in terms of the matchup, that was the second consideration. Thank God I remembered it. The matchup, in some demo analysis of the team you're playing against, you may notice certain tendencies that defy the norms, but are stylistically a consideration that you need to think about when you're going up against that team. So those are the 3 reasons you may make a decision between this or this. I don't think that there's anything else that could really make you want to make a decision on that one. So for argument's sake, we're going to stick a guy here. Because that's actually what happens in this round. So we've got a guy going into the Palace position. We've got a guy going to B apartments, and you can play B apartments again. The way that you play this also depends on, as I mentioned, the meta, the team you're playing against, and what your team wants to accomplish by the end of the round. And so in this instance, we're going to see Tarek playing it fairly passively. But you want to have someone on the either extremity. So we've achieved that, which leads to 3 players to mid. Now there's 2 main ways you tend to see this happen. if it happens in a kind of concerted effort, as we will see in this demo. You can have more players going through B apartments who can maybe toss over nades to kind of threaten the B-bomb side, or you can have the two of them going through the underpass and then one swinging out a little bit later once this underpass position has been claimed. And once the underpass position has been claimed, the reason why you have the guy coming out top mid by himself after that is because the underpass players make this position less strong for the CTs. They make connector weaker, they make catwalk weaker, meaning that the guy coming top mid is going to be generally more safe, and the CTs will be less incentivized overall. So in making an aggression. Okay, so what is the overall goal of the default? And before I go too much further, I would like to say I'm not going to go over like the technical ways you actually take mid, because there's a billion different ways and it's extremely nuanced and technical on this map. But ultimately you want to end up with this position, this position and this position. So you have catwalk control, you've got connector control, and window, there's no threat that the CTs can push there as well. So it's going to be something that will be quite difficult and can vary quite a lot. And there's obviously ways the CTs can disrupt you. Again, don't want to go too heavy into the details because this video will get way too long. But now we've understood that those are the objectives. Why is it the case? And what is the impact of having all of these positions for the Ts? Once you have these positions, let's assume it's a more passive round from the CTs. Let's say that your nades did a great job. You were able to use your utility to create limited to zero opportunities really for the CTs to go for any kind of favorable aggression. And they're like, you know what, we can't get a favorable aggression. We're just going to go back and play more passive positions. So what you're going to tend to see for the CTs is a setup that looks something like this, where you have someone closer to Palace and then a player playing ticket. You're going to have somebody who's playing maybe rotation in market. You can have someone who's either sites or in the B apartments itself. And you're going to have someone watching over jungle. Jungle guy obviously has to concern himself with window and also connector, and every so often the ticket guy can maybe peek towards connector, but he also has to worry about a ramp, and the default guy worries about Palace, and obviously the B apartments guy worries about B apartments and also potentially catwalk, and the market guy is a quick rotation player. So that's like the default set that the CTs will go to. And again, this is another reason why defaults are so cool, is because once you've taken a certain portion of the map, you can kind of logically deduce what are the good options for the CTs now. And again, if you're taking so much away from them, that limits the options that they have. There's only going to be so many good options for them. So it becomes more predictable where they're going to play. And that means that whatever strategy you're running is going to be more consistent in its outcome, because you know more consistently what you're going to be up against. So again, another way the default wins. So let's go into this round and see that how it plays. Oh, actually, another thing quickly is that the default does is look at how it impacts the rotation times. The only safe rotation is through CT spawn to market and vice versa. Huge rotation time. So effectively, especially if this player goes down, there's a huge, like, everything is just cut in half. This entire map is cut in half for the CT. It's very difficult. So let's quickly look at how this round plays out. And, as I mentioned, we're going to see one player going Palace. That's Ethan. We're going to see, or actually, this is the wrong round. My apologies. Here we go. We're going to have one player going Palace, which is Ethan. You can see him running there with his tiny little legs. And you're going to see Tarek as well moving towards the B apartments. The three players swinging top mid, the typical cat smoke. Now, one thing to quickly note is we've got this A ramp smoke, which Ethan will hear. Very low percentage that the CTs will push this smoke. So we have a situation where Ethan can kind of like happily sit in the Palace position, not really like reasonably worrying about a push from that position. He can just hold this and make sure the CTs do not push this position. That's what his job is right now. His job is not to create presence typically. And there's another reason for this. A reason why he doesn't necessarily want to even create presence by making himself known with nades or firing off any shots or anything like that is partially due to the fact that it is an expectation that there will be someone, either Palace or a ramp, pretty much every time, pretty much whatever the round is. Generally, that's probably what's going to be going on. So he doesn't have to make any noise. They're already a bit scared that there could be somebody around these positions. Tarek, on the other hand, is going to throw a flashbang in response to pressure here. We're going to quickly discuss this decision by Na'Vi. Na'Vi have opted to play 2 players in the B apartments. They've got the AWP here, this is really cool. And again, I believe in the Zywoo demo, I talked about AWPing on B apartments from the CT perspective and also the T perspective. So if you want a bit more detail into that discussion, then go to the Zywoo part 2 video, which is quite recent at POV analysis, and you'll get more juicy information about that. But I'm going to kind of rehash one of the points from that, in that this is opportunity cost. They've decided to put 2 players towards B apartments. And again, look how huge the map is. What does that mean? It means that they've taken away from having an AWPer or someone who can be present towards catwalk, which again, if there's a mid take coming in, which it often will in a default, then you're not going to have anyone here, which means that you have no one to play. There's no one for this guy, Boomich in this instance, to play off of. If there was to be a flash thrown over towards middle for these guys to maybe try to take a fight, or maybe a swing to come through on window as well, which has been left open from a smoke, that's not possible now. You need to have somebody else to help you from the other side. Otherwise, all these guys are looking in one place and you get absolutely savaged. So that's another thing to consider. Okay. So let's see how this plays out. Tarek is still entertaining. And okay, another cool detail here. We see a pause. Time is a commodity. It is there to be used. If you know how roughly long your round is going to be, then you'll understand how much time you have to do moves like this. Just pause. Window's being left open. Nothing's happening on the map right now. Everything's fairly quiet. Maybe the CTs make a play if they were to do that to get information or otherwise. Because now let's look at the situation. Information's being taken away by the T side. So it's reasonable to think that the CTs may try to take some information back. If they don't, there's no risk for their lives at that point. But if they don't take information back, that is an inherent risk in of itself, because now then they don't have some information. So what instead happens is they have to play more passive positions. And you can already start to see kind of the setup I was talking about earlier in terms of how the players are positioned. We're just missing this market rotation. Anyway, let's go forwards as we start to see, we'll start to see a movement from the players on the extremities now, because the default is starting to have its intended effect. We can speed things up just ever so slightly. So they pause for a bit in middle. Nothing's happening. Top mid smoke comes in. Window smoke comes in. Why does that happen? Because now they're moving forwards. And why was it left open? Because they were holding position, waiting for a push. Why smoke it if you want to entice a CT to get information? That's the whole point of it. Entice it and give them an option where they think, I should get some information. But obviously, it's too good to be true. So, okay. Now it's going to be all about getting those positions. And we see that we're going to have Stan there, Stan the man. Over in ladder room, we've got the molly there towards the window room to prevent any peaks. But now we get, as you can see, these rotations back from the players on the extremities. As a commentator, this tells us, if we're watching this game, a lot about the intentions of the team now. This obviously means it's going to be an A split of some description. And it can obviously at this point play out in very different ways. They could leave Stan as a lurk, send everyone back if they, oh God, it's a bit messy. Send everyone back if they wanted to. What is more common to do is leave someone in connector. Maybe they could send 3 back or have 2 in connector. There's a lot of different ways you can set this up. It depends on what you're feeling as a team. In this instance, we're going to see a quick pop flash play. And this is really cool because pressure was just applied to the B-bomb site. We're going to rewind a little bit because because B site is so sick. We're going to watch this. So, I missed something as well. That's really, really sick. Okay, let me just go back a little bit more. This is really, really sick. Quite far back. Okay, here. All right. So talking about clearing mids, I did want to highlight one thing. I told you I wasn't going to go into too much of the technicalities, but I thought this is really cool. It's really simple. I don't see it enough. It's really easy to do. We're going to see a double peak of connector here from both of these players. I forget who they are. It doesn't really matter, but they're going to double peak this. Now I'm going to show you from the perspective of a CT who could be standing in this position. Look how well timed this is. This is how you should do it. Low ground, high ground peak. Boom. Okay. It was sped up. It's sped up. I'm sorry. It's 2 times. Let's do it even slightly slow mode. Okay, I want to see how sync this is. Boom, that's slow mode. They were both looking at once. And then what happens is we see the immediate attention towards catwalk, the swing around. And look, he's already holding the deep position. It's sick. Beautiful. Okay, so we're going to now go back to when Stan goes for this peak in this position. Okay. So now this is really cool. You know, you get them slowing things down here. Electronic slowing things down with the Molotov. So Stan's going to spend some time in the ladder room to kill time, and then he's going to come back out. Now this is really cool because what Stan is doing here with the team is that they're using this pop flash, and that pop flash. We can rewind again. How sick is Skybox? Jesus. I think we're going to see that flash. Bosh. Right here. So if you're standing around the pillar, you're absolutely wrecked by that flashbang. If you're further back, obviously bench or the B apartments, you're going to be absolutely fine. And unfortunately, this is the best possible position and the best possible weapon to counter this play. This is a pressure play onto the B bomb site. This is designed to create a scenario whereby if he gets a pick, obviously that's super sick, but it creates a scenario where these players are really far away from these players. Because the time for them to work things out and rotate all the way around to help is going to take so long versus the short amount of time for look how close these two players are from attacking the A site versus how far away these players are and how many positions they would have to check to safely rotate through. Obviously, that's a hugely beneficial scenario for the T side. So even if Stan dies here, which he does, of course, he's still helped to create a huge timing advantage. And there is a 3v4 still left where the CTs should have a disadvantage if utility is used correctly. However, there's not that much utility left in the hands of the Ts. So let's see how this one plays out. Right at this point, okay, this is another thing. I mentioned the timing. Sometimes a better setup, theoretically, is less important than the timing. Sometimes the timing is more important. So you don't want to rotate these guys back. They just have to get in there. These guys just have to get in there. They have to get in there as soon as possible because you don't want these guys in the picture. You want these guys to be in the picture when the bomb is down and you already have a post-plant set up for all your players. Now, this is interesting, the situation, because Guardian has the perfect position to deal with this. There is no smoke. This place should get blown up, but I'm going to show you something that is the most Counter-Strike thing you've ever seen. And also maybe it's just bad game sense. I don't know. Guardian got kicked for a reason. I don't know. Look at this. No flashes, nothing to stop Guardian from ruining Tarek. He's gonna slowly. Oh, and he's gone. That is brutal. That's absolutely brutal. Now Breeze is gonna swing in like the Terminator, and he's gonna obviously murder everybody. That was super sick. You know, actually, again, Skybox is super sick. So let's check out Breeze's perspective real quick. Oh, okay. Let's go back a little bit more. All right, and see you later. See you later. Just like a little laser gun. My God, what an absolute god he is. Okay, so back into 3 look for me, and the bomb goes down. And okay. I'm just going to go back a little bit again because I want to look at the rotation timings for you guys. Okay, so let's look at the timings here in real time. So playback speed is 1. So, okay, so we're keeping our eye on these guys and their rotation across and the time it takes. Okay, double entries come across. Ethan gets a plant down. Guardian can't stop it. Now, at the point, bomb just got planted. Look where these players are. The bomb just got planted. There is still additional time for a setup. Cirque already has an advanced position. They already know there's a guy on CT. They already dealt with the guy on site. They're counting the players. They're in a spot where Ethan just has to hold this angle. He obviously can't push this or this. If he just holds, he's totally cool. And obviously they have a guy who's going to be in jungle, which means that there's a huge... it's going to take a lot of time for these guys to push together. Electronics basically unable to do anything in this position. So we'll see how it works when it actually rolls on through. Again, you can see Ethan just staying within this line because he knows the All-Pro could cut him off if he takes the bad line. So it gets the kill on Electronic by Catwalk. Ethan is able to get around the corner by Tetris. Breeze is still in jungle. It's an open plant. They got to worry about Breeze. They got to worry about Cirque. They got to worry about Ethan. That's 3 points. That's 3 angles onto the bomb with 2 players coming from one position. Of that position of which there's only 2 places to peek if they actually go for it. So let's see how that plays out for them. Probably not too well. And by the way, this is why Counter-Strike is great, because sometimes these two players will win this scenario. And again, look how intuitive it is. We all know that, like, you don't have to be an expert to know this is way favorable. If one of these guys goes off and kills everyone, or two of them together kill everyone, that's obviously a really sick retake where they did it with a disadvantage. So yeah, you can see that this is just an impossible scenario. All right, so there you guys go. There's a basic explanation with some little details going in there of a default on Mirage. Let me know what you think. Thank you for supporting the content. Press subscribe, spread the word if you think it's cool and other people should see it as well. If you have any suggestions or feedback, let me know. I'm going to try to shorten these videos so that you get more bite-sized chunks out of them. But in terms of covering defaults overall, it does take some time, I think. So in the future, when I've done all of the maps in this way and have some groundwork in that sense, I will start doing it in a way in which I'll just take you through a couple rounds using concepts that have already been established in previous videos. And so that way we'll save time and you guys won't have to listen to me repeating stuff all the time. All right. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And I'll catch you on the next one.